So let's kind of shift gears a little bit to like, so when you had your daughter, how did like your business kind of adapt and change, or how did you kind of manage that while owning your own business?
It was definitely a challenge. I remember like that was the year I actually started using my real estate license too. So I was also trying to do real estate as well as manage my business. And it was a total whirlwind, just trying to navigate everything and, be there for my family and work really hard. And so it was a lot of, already there's the lack of sleep, but then there's a lot of late nights involved and stuff too. And obviously I did my best to take some time off. But I think about, I want to say like a month after I had my daughter, I had a wedding that I had to shoot. So I had to navigate the whole pumping on the go, and especially for a wedding, pretty much impossible to try to find the time to pump. And so that was interesting. It's like I was very upfront with my clients about it and let them know that like I might have to step away, but you have to be very strategic about it. And obviously, like there are times where you're just going to have to go like 8 hours without pumping, and it's not enjoyable at all. That was a whole nother whirlwind for sure, but I made it work. I did end up leaving real estate. It was something, the whole selling side of it was not something I felt was authentic to me. Obviously, I really enjoy like the real estate market and doing the marketing for different agents, but maybe it was that period in my life, too many changes, too many things at once, that kind of set me back there. Adjusting to, being a business owner as a mom was was rough. Sleep was probably the one thing, my biggest struggle. And then when she was old enough, we did end up sleep training, and that was like the best thing that I ever did. And I know, there's obviously different takes on on sleep training, but she's very independent in sleeping, now, which I'm like forever grateful for, that I'm not losing sleep continuously.
Right.
For the most part, there are days, but where I have to worry about that because she did so well as an infant with that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like there's business owner, and then it's like, a job like you're talking about being a photographer, you're on your feet the whole time, you're running around. Like I've been to a lot of weddings to see, a photographer. I mean, it's nonstop. And so I
Yeah.
can only imagine being a new mom, and like that's something too, like you're saying, that's something you planned out probably like a year in advance. So you don't necessarily know like, oh, my daughter would be a month old at the time, or you can't always plan
Mhm.
for that. So wow.
Yeah, I did do my best with like family planning and, trying to make it work. And like, I was like, okay, if we're going to be trying, I don't want to have to worry about, a wedding. So I was trying to not book as many. But obviously, a couple, a couple were snuck their way in, because she was born in May. So summer weddings are definitely hot in the Chicago area. So
Yeah. And so you mentioned
yeah.
like you were able to take like a month before you had like a wedding. So were you able to kind of like schedule in other like kind of like maternity leave time, or how does that work with owning a business? Because we have a lot of moms, like we have a private Facebook group, a lot of moms that are kind of that own their own business or want to own their own business, and that's probably something that's crossed their mind, like what do I do around that time, or how can I manage?
It definitely takes a lot of planning. I mean, I don't think I planned well enough, like I said, because I took on another job. And, as I was on a real estate team, and they were very supportive of like picking up, where I needed help. But, there was a lot of guilt in that as well. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm, trying to be a new mom and do all these things like, and then my team has to pick up the slack because I didn't plan well, so I did carry that with me for a while. Definitely lots of planning. Thankfully, like my mom lived about 10 minutes away from me. So I did have some help all of my best friends at the time too. Like we all had kids around the same time. So it was nice to be able to have them to like lean on for support. But I definitely didn't probably take as much time as I should have. I was always kind of working still here and there. But I look back and I really do cherish the downtime that I had, because the type of person I am, I always like to go and, be actively working, and I love what I do. So that really pulls me to kind of always be in that busy like production mode. And so I mean, there are times where my daughter was a very challenging baby. She had a lot of GI issues. So being able to be the one that was taking her to her appointments and just like, snuggling with her and just taking naps with her, I do definitely appreciate that, because I'm not that way at all. And looking back, I think I would have been very upset if I, was just like pushing myself to overwork and like sending her to the babysitter or, her grandma any chance that I could. Yeah, it was definitely nice. So her dad and I also split right before she turned 1. So that was like another big challenge of like, okay, now that she's getting a little older, now what do I do? How do we move forward? And, how do I find that help and support when I have to like jump in and find, way more work now, because I have to support myself and my daughter. So that definitely was a struggle, and like a whole new transition that got thrown into the mix. But definitely like having her dad's support in the beginning and having him work, and it made it possible for us. I can definitely feel for moms who don't have that support and don't really, they have to jump back in and they have to work. Or if you do own your business and you don't have that support, what do you do? So I know everybody's situation is so different, but it definitely helps, I think, to have at least a small little community and network to like, fall back on and ask for help.